Okay, in your project folder, you want to go into basic editing, and now we're going to start getting into more editing techniques in Photoshop. So I'd like you to open up all three folders by just selecting all three and dragging it into the Photoshop window. We're going to do a simple edit, and we're going to kind of clean up this person's shirt. So what you want to do is you want to zoom in here. I'm holding down the Alt button, and actually what I'm noticing here is that I'm missing some tools that I'm used to having. So if you see that on your screen also, is that there's this button here, and that actually gives you more tools. So if you click on that, you're going to see a tool called Spot Healing Brush. And Photoshop does really amazing things. So you want to make this brush just small enough to cover the part that you want to quote unquote heal. So I'm going to hold down the lower bracket button or click on it, and then just click on that little spot, and Photoshop kind of assesses what's around it and it selects it. And then here I'm going to make the brush a little larger, and that's pretty good. I'm going to get lazy here and just kind of see if that'll pick that up, and that's pretty darn good. So I can come in here and start really cleaning up this person's shirt so that it looks flawless. And now there will be some bigger spots here. What you can do is you can click and drag a little bit, and it'll catch that all around. So let's try that here. And I'm kind of not trying to go crazy and try to hit all of them at the same time. And I'm also, for me, just trying to be smarter about this. It's just trying to follow that pattern a little bit and not push Photoshop. And also you got to be careful that you're not touching anything else, because it's going to actually look around that circle and kind of heal using the things that are nearby. So you can try that. And of course, you know, if you want to be really accurate, you want to get in here and reduce that size and really try to make that thing seamless. Okay, so why don't you guys try that and just clean up all of her shirt, and don't worry about being perfect. I just wanted to introduce you to that tool. So again, if you click and drag, you could paint over the area, and then it'll just fix those spots. Now Photoshop could also clone. So if you go to this example here and cloning tool, that's also quite fun. Again, I don't typically see it here, so you're going to hold this thing down, and then there is a clone stamp tool. Now the clone stamp tool is a couple of things. Think of it as a sampling device. So you're going to hold down Alt, and let's say you want to start copying something from here, this lily. You can click that, and then now you take your finger off of Alt. I'm going to make my brush a little bit larger, and basically my brush is loaded with that position right here. So if I click and drag, I don't know if you guys can see my little plus sign, but that is actually copying everything in that photograph, right? So there's that. So let's say I want to come to this composition, and let's say I want to add some of this flower and kind of make this a little fuller. I'm going to push Alt, maybe start right at the middle of this flower and come here, maybe reduce my brush, and maybe kind of brush some of this flower in. And then I'm going to come, maybe take some of this stem. You know, and come in here. Now it looks a little bit fuller than before, right? So I'm going to go back to, oh, I can't even do redo. I undid all of it. So anyhow, so that's how you guys use the clone stamp tool. I often use this a lot when I'm trying to edit some of my photograph in architecture, and I need to reduce, remove some images, but also add some of the other parts of an image back. So clone stamp tool and then the spot healing brush tool is a very handy dandy editing. And then Photoshop also has this thing called content aware, and it's quite amazing again. So we have this large patch. Again, you could actually do the clone stamp tool and come in here and start to do that, right? But you could also kind of isolate the area. I'm going to come out of the frame, come back in the frame, and kind of broadly say, hey, Photoshop, take away this thing and kind of match it with the things that I've actually, kind of bled in with, right? So you want to, you've selected it, go to your image, and you want to go to fill. And what it's doing right now is saying, do you want to fill it with what? You can fill it with a solid color like a black, white, red, or whatever color. But which would be like here, foreground color, background color. But what you want to do is click Content Aware. When you do that, you're asking Photoshop to kind of study this image and take away what you think you should take away, which in this case will be this boardwalk, and fill it in with these grass that I've selected on the side. So you do that, and Photoshop kind of thinks about it and kind of fills it all in. And then, of course, I'm going to Control D. Now, there's parts here that's not perfect, and and this image is great because it's grass, so it's kind of fluid. So I'm kind of cheating here. But if you come in here and you feel like that's looking kind of janky here or here, you can come back in with your clone stamp tool and then say, I want some of this grass to show up here, and of course you can reduce this thing. You could also reduce the opacity so that it's a softer transition, so whatever. And with the clone stamp tool, if you sample from different parts, it just looks a lot more natural. So anyway, have some fun with those two tools. Again, these images are kind of perfect for this type of scenarios, but you'll see that not everything is perfect. It works the way I'm demoing it, but as you get more familiar with these editing tools and selection, you guys will get better and better.